let's move on with our program today. And Lee Carter is going to introduce our guest speaker.
I've never met Walter Hughes, but I feel like I know him. I know that he's a humble person. He would say he's just an ordinary man. Yet Walter has accomplished extraordinary things through his relationship with Rotary and his church, through his mission to drive mankind. 2006, Walter had the idea that he could provide a single water well for a small village in Ghana. That was his goal, one and done. However, that one well has now spent $4.75 million to this region of Africa, and he's helped 763,742 people have a proper education, clean drinking water, dignified sanitary facility, better health, and increased economic opportunity. To think that a single person with a simple idea could accomplish all this shows us the magic of Rotary and the incredible opportunities it gives us through the Rotary Foundation. Walter will agree that we can make dreams come true. As I try to imagine Walter's 18-year journey, it's interesting for me to know that at some point, Walter realized there are humanitarian projects and not digging well projects. These projects have changed the lives of human beings. These projects have changed the lives of the people he met, he knows, and he's learned to love and call part of his family. He has been blessed to be able to watch them become self-actualized, independent, and empowered to be all that God has intended for them. There are many lessons we can learn from Walter and his philosophy of service and empowerment. We're fortunate to have him with us today. This has not been a very good introduction, so I apologize to Walter. But to be true to my task, I'll tell you that since the early 2000s, Hughes has led over 25 missions to Ghana in West Africa, digging wells in remote villages, bringing water, fresh water to people in an effort to eradicate the grisly parasitic Guinea worm disease. In 2013, Walter was honored as White House Champion of Change for his humanitarian work. He began his career as a programmer analyst for Mobil Oil. Later, he was strategic category manager for technology products in America. I give you the truly extraordinary Walter Hughes.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am so excited to be here. I'm going to share the screen now. And today, I want to talk about impacting the world and why we succeed on these projects. And I live in Virginia, but my home club is in South Carolina in the US. And we're impacting areas of focus, really every area of focus. And can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Prevent.
If you're talking, we can't hear you. Diego, it says original sound.
Okay, can you still, okay, Zoom just died, but I'm gonna get back on. Okay, and so we've worked with many diseases, primarily Guinea worm, which is a 3-foot-long parasite, but also a disease called Buruli ulcer, which eats your flesh away. And what we learned is dirty water is the key problem. And if you tackle that single problem, you can solve so many other things. And the total now have changed. We're up to 828,000 people with clean water now, and over $5 million in projects. We're working in 8 countries, including Mexico, and 25 US states and 3 Canadian provinces. So it's been, and we appreciate your club You gave 500, which turned into $1,750 in 2017 for a grant in northeastern Ghana in Bolgatanga. And so we're working on our next grant. It's 22-35025. We're aiming for 10 new wells, 157 new microflush toilets, and a budget between $150,000 and $160,000. And a well in Ghana costs about $4,000, and a toilet is around $250 for a household, about $500 US for a school block toilet stall. And 25% of the world population still needs clean water, and about half the population still needs a toilet. So that's 4.1 out of 7.5 billion people still need good sanitation. And for your club to be focused on sanitation, it's a great objective. And we can prevent 75% of waterborne disease deaths if we do 4 things, and that's drink clean water, use toilets, wash your hands with soap and water, train about hygiene, and all 4 steps are needed to save lives. And for Rotary, we were focused on clean water for many years, but having the hygiene component with that makes all the difference. And one thing I was learning about was the sanitary napkins. And I haven't done this on one of our projects, but many of our partners have talked about it. And it's really having girls and mothers making sustainable washable napkins and having how-to classes to build these sanitary napkins that can be washed and reused for about a year. And so empowering the poor to solve the problem. And this is one thing that I've heard that your club is interested in doing, and it makes so much sense. So it's there's a lot of designs on the internet how to make these sanitary napkins. And so with sanitation at the school and with the sanitary napkins, teenage girls can attend school all month long. And the one thing we have done is get into the sanitation business as Rotarians. And we learned about the MICROFLUSH toilet. It's compost a toilet with really a cup of water for hand washing, and then a hand washing is used for the next flush. So it doesn't pollute the land or the water, and it costs $250. The superstructure is built to match the person's home. And some of those toilets are within the home, some are attached, and some are detached, depending upon what the homeowner really wants to do. And there's no smell or flies or mosquitoes. And so we're reducing malaria, because with the pit latrines, mosquitoes breed in those pits, and avoiding that with the dry toilet that you are working with, or the MICROFLUSH, you're washing your hands, that water is going through the there's a layer of straw and topsoil that the earthworms are located in, that digest the waste into compost, and it prevents those waterborne diseases. And we've learned that depending upon where you're at, some people prefer the squat fixture, and some prefer the seat that Americans are accustomed to. So we've learned for schools, the squat fixture is preferred because it's considered more sanitary than a toilet seat. So the inventor of the MICROFLUSH would call these user interface decisions. And I saw the Guinea worm disease in 2006, and I saw a map, and almost every community in Ghana had a red dot showing this parasite. And this bottle is not pasta, it is parasites coming out of the children at a clinic in Ghana. And it was a village called Savalugu, and that was the worst place in the world for Guinea worm disease at the time. And so as Rotarians, we came back home, talked about this disease, and started putting wells in the worst place in Ghana for that disease until in 2010, the disease no longer existed in Ghana. And now we went to South Sudan in 2013 to start drilling wells in that country, which became the worst place in the world once Ghana was done. And so working with the Carter Center and other nonprofits, we're close to eradicating this disease from the world. And this is a picture when that parasite's coming out of your skin and the skin becomes infected. So the dream for Rotarians is polio and guinea worm are two diseases that we hope to eradicate from the world. One coming from a central plan and the other coming from clubs working together. And what I learned is it's important to give hope during a war. And so our project was approved and funded. We raised $302,000 for South Sudan. The money was sent to by the Rotary Foundation to Juba the same month the Civil War resumed. And so I called the Rotary Foundation and asked them, what is your policy for doing good in a war zone? And at that time, they didn't have a policy. Since then, they have created a policy, mainly because of me, that they prefer us to stay out of the war zone at that time. But what I learned is people are thirsty during a civil war. And so orphans who lost their family and their parents during the war still needed water to drink. And Rotary was there drilling those wells during the war. And we've built 10 schools in 15 years. This is the Hyman Chaney School. Before I learned how to pronounce it, we called it the Hilltop School. And it's a very remote community where we drilled a well. And then we saw that the kids were learning in a shed. And so we've since changed that so they have a modern school with solar panels, lights, and textbooks, wonderful classrooms. And so we know that the future of every country are the children. So investing in their education makes a huge difference. And one thing we've been doing is village savings and loan associations. It was something we tried on our last grant, and it's been truly very successful because many communities do not have access to banks or financial institutions. And so we teach people how to save money themselves and then lend that money out to their lending group. And so they were raising amazing amounts of money during the pandemic using the concepts taught with the Village Savings and Loan Association. And then we've also done microcredit loans, and we include a portion of the grant as charity work, but another portion as microcredit loan for wells and for toilets. So that work can continue long after the grant is closed. And so we've had farm loans, small business loans, loans for wells, loans for sanitation, for home improvement loans to build a toilet for your home. And those loans increase a lot of impact for hairdressers, shop owners, people wanting sanitation. And cocoa is a huge crop in Ghana. And so loans to have transportation to get the crop to market. And we've also given loans to stock ponds with fish, or to start a hog production facility, or to grow plants that are high value instead of just always growing maize. And the question is, how did we succeed? And it's 5 concepts. We have a compassion as Rotarians, and that compassion turns into a passion. And then we tell the story of the need, and then we build friendships, and then we team, and we persevere through all the challenges. And the partnerships need to be local. We need to have people who can coach the international and the local Rotarians, and partner with the donors, the experts, and then we get that work accomplished. And we're doing a thing called a strength assessment. They used to call it a needs assessment, but we prefer to look at the strengths in the community as well as the needs, and then determine truly what the need is, and not let that be dictated by US or European Rotarians, but the host Rotarians who've done that research. And we're doing a new model called empowerment. It has 6 steps. And so we asked the community, what is your vision and what is your dream for changing your community? And we want local leadership and local labor. And it stopped there a long time ago, but now we say we'll provide training to accomplish whatever your dream is. And then we want local funding. So we want you to raise money while we're raising money for the global grants. And so like your current project that you're proposing to do in the fall, we'd be talking to those communities saying, we want you to start raising money right now with us. And as we get the money for that grant, we will match your funds with money here locally and from other sources around the world. And then if possible, we add microcredit lending into the 6 steps, and then Rotary fills the funding gap. So instead of the funding from Rotary being the first step, it's the last step in this effort. And it's proven to increase sustainability by a tremendous amount, and also allow the community to upgrade the solution that we're building by they have the decision-making ability, and they can raise more money to mechanize the borehole or well, whereas we may have had funding for a hand pump. So that's that win-win partnership. And so a lot of it is local community driven, and we will sit under a tree and talk to them about their needs. And what we've learned is we need to listen to all the voices in the community, especially the women. And in Africa, the women don't have official titles. That's changing now, where the assemblymen are now assembly women, and the district chief executive may be a woman now. But many of the great ideas happen at the local level by women and children. And if you miss those voices, you've lost a lot of the need in the community. And then we are building the next level of Rotarians. So Nana Menza, someone asked about how many clubs we work with, and Nana was working with the Kamasi Rotary Club. And I said, Nana, I have too many clubs. I can't work with the Kamasi Club. And he emailed me, he texted me, he called me. He tried everything to get me to consider his club. And every time I said no. And so then they finally sent a presentation and said, with our members, we raise money for a well and for toilets. But imagine what we could do if we were able to work with you. And so I finally said, okay, Nana, if you stop bothering me, we will work with you. And so Nana has now been an active partner for many years, and he's teaching the next generation of leaders. So the leaders that were developed during COVID, I hadn't met, but Nana and Kwame Anor is another Rotarian who are teaching that new generation of Rotarians to follow them. And so it's exciting when you can mentor energetic young Rotarians, and many of these are Rotaractors. And so we tell them it's not dependent upon your age. You don't need to have gray hair to do great work in Rotary. So you can be young with young families and still get this work done. And so working with the local government leaders is really key. None of the money goes through the local government, but we work with them to build the partnerships that are needed for training and mobilizing the community. And we have a long-term commitment to Ghana. Next year, it'll be 20 years that I've been working in Ghana at the local level. And so my first trip was September 2003. And so we've seen a huge transformation in these communities. And it's exciting to see that change. And we're also mentoring leaders here in the US and Canada to lead these projects. So it's not just a one-person job. And so I want to say thank you for all the work you do in Mexico and around the world, and the work that you've done to support this effort. It's really encouraging. And so I'm here for questions and to thank you for your passion to change your local community and to focus on how you can transform lives around the world. So I'm truly grateful.
I gotta believe that there are some questions here in the room and on Zoom. Anybody have a question for Walter? Lee? 100. 100? All right, very good.
So I'm going to ask you two questions. That's what I have before. What about, how do you handle maintenance and use in the bathrooms that you build in public areas, like at schools? And what are the obligations of beneficiaries in terms of actually doing physical work as part of their obligation to receive resources?
Yes. Well, thanks for the question. We do a lot of training, and now what we've learned is the training happens before we do the projects. So what we will do is mobilize that community. They have come to us and said, we want help with sanitation or clean water or economic development. And so what we do is water and sanitation training if it's a water project. And we ask them to set up a WATSAN committee, which has 5 men and at least 2 women. And we ask them to start raising money each month by household for that water and sanitation committee account. We ask them to open the bank account, and then we ask them before we drill the well to see the bank account, how much money they have raised. And so what we've learned is if they contribute up front in the project, then there's more ownership and the maintenance happens. So we also make sure they know the local government organizations that deal with the water and sanitation. And so that's important to be able to maintain that project. It's the old days, we just popped in a well and left. But now the Rotary Foundation requires a lot more, but we've added the 6 steps of empowerment, and which goes beyond the standards for the Rotary Foundation. And we've learned that makes all the difference, having that training. And for the school, we expect the school to share the resources, especially if it's a well, with the local community. We're saying the parents deserve clean water as well as the children. And usually the toilet block at the schools is maintained by the maintenance crew and the parents and teachers. A lot of times the parents will dig the foundation for the toilet block at the school. And many times they've helped to build the blocks and do things like that. So that's made all the difference. Did I answer your question, or did I miss a part of it?
Oh, you did great. We've had the same experience here that education is key, and putting in physical labor is absolutely necessary for buy-in. So it's a remarkably similar experience.
What I've learned is if you take their dreams and their passion and provide them resources, then you have a much better project than if it's just designed by the Rotarians. So we're a resource for those community leaders. So what we say is we're building leaders, and the leaders implement the project. And so it's a lot better than saying some guy from America came and did something. The goal that we should have is we did this as our community. And when they're done, they think they can do so much more.
Question on the wells. Are you there?
Yes, I am here. Can you see?
Yeah.
You see me?
How clean is the water coming out of the ground? The problem we have here is severe contamination of well water.
We are more fortunate there. We're working more in rural areas, and we test the water, and so it's good. My very first project, I wanted to do water filtration and purification using chlorine gas. So, but most of our wells, we don't need that. Is the contamination mainly sewage, or is it pollution as well?
Okay,
No, it's thick and fluoride.
yeah,
It's,
Oh, fluoride.
yeah.
That's a
The wells have gone so deep, we're down to heavy igneous stratas, which contain a lot of hard metals. Arsenic and
Wow.
fluoride being the two in extremely high levels.
Wow. Have you started thinking about rain catchment? Wait, that's one thing you're doing, right?
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
That is why.
we
Okay.
spent over $800,000 on rain catchment.
Wow. How successful is the rain catchment projects becoming?
My sense is that it's hugely successful because we used to find that the people didn't know how to maintain the cisterns and things. When we went back and visited several years later, that's when we added the education program. And that's made a huge difference in terms of just from year to year, keeping the roofs clean, the cisterns washed, etc. But it's all education.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like drilling wells is becoming out of reach because of the cost of going that deep and the complicated systems. A lot of projects in Ghana, we have cyanide for gold mining. So certain areas that will be a problem if there's a lot of illegal gold mining in an area. And we have that contamination for the water supply.
Terry Kavanaugh.
Hi, in regards to the reusable pads, how are the moms paying for the fabric? Is it a funding project or are they doing it on their own?
Well, that's something that Rotarians in Uganda have done, and Rotarians in Ghana are discussing. So many of the women, the two fabrics, one is waterproof and one is absorbent. So I could see microcredit lending being an option for that, or having the global grant fund the material and then allow the women to make the pads using the standard designs. Okay, so with a global grant project, I see it as the material could be what's funded by the grants.
Okay.
And then the participation by the community is sewing those sanitary pads. Okay, and so that would be a win-win. But a lot of women, a lot of those pads, when you're sewing dresses, you could have material left over that could be made into a pad. So it's possible that they have some material that they could learn how to use to use some of the extra material for this purpose. You follow me?
Absolutely.
So it's really getting the education out there, how to make them, and then how to find the resources to buy the material. But I see that as a win-win because the thought is we've got to buy expensive disposable sanitary napkins, and no one can afford that. So having something that can be reused and rewashed and that they can make makes a problem that is out of reach to make it affordable for girls to have sanitary napkins.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
And one of the thoughts is there's a lot of nonprofits whose passion is sanitary napkins. So you might be able to find a nonprofit or two to work along beside you on that global grant. Okay. So they have the knowledge and the experience, but they also have some funding that could work along with your new global grant. So that's one of my thoughts.
Thank you.
I got a question on your dry composting toilets.
Yes,
I notice you do not collect the urine separately. Is that true?
that's true. The urine flows through the filter level and goes into a gravel pit that's about 3 feet in diameter. But the urine could be collected and used for fertilizer.
Yes,
So-
absolutely. It works fabulous.
Well, I would love to learn more about that. That's something that we're not doing. That if you're doing that, I would love to pick your brains on that piece.
Joe will get that to you.
Okay, sounds good. It's
Any
yeah,
other, any other questions?
doing that technology is really important for the sanitation and for the urine collection.
Yep.
So great job.
Do we have anybody out there in Zoom land that has a question? I can't see you, so you might have to speak up if you're there. No? Okay, I guess that's about it. I think that wraps it up. Walter, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. It was good to be with you.
Right, you're gonna have to come on down and check. By the way, how often do you go to Ghana each year? Once a year?
No, it takes about 2 or 3 years for the compost to accumulate enough to need to dislodge it. So the earthworms do a great job of getting that compost down to almost nothing.
He misunderstood your question.
The question I had was, how often do you get to Ghana yourself?
Oh, I usually go twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. Now during COVID, I got remarried to Lisa, and so I'll have to see the new.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a lot.
exactly.
So I got quarantined and I couldn't travel, so I fell in love during that downturn.
Well, once again, we are grateful for you joining us today. And to show our appreciation, do we have the certificate that we can pop up there? Diego? Well, we don't have it. Well, you have to take my word for it then, Walter. We will make a donation in your name for 10 polio vaccinations to fight polio and the Rotary. Help me out. The End Polio Now campaign. So when we get that all put together, we will email it off to you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right. Very good.